What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's March 22nd, and it is the Morning Vibe. Hope everyone had a great weekend, and we're looking forward to another epic conversation. I am joined here by that gentleman, and I'm going to bring you up. And this is Ryan Oneil Knight. And also, we have a special guest this morning. His gentleman's name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. He's a Louisville, Kentucky native. Yes, the home of Muhammad Ali, and a graduate of Western Kentucky University, spring 2017. He's a sports reporter at WBKO-TV and is a regular contributor to a great YouTube channel called the Black Boss Channel. And we're looking forward to having him as part of our conversation today. Just going to do a quick check-in. Ryan, how was the weekend?
I feel like a lot got done family-wise. Got to just spend the whole Sunday roaming the city. Checked out the the different Black Business Development Hub. They have the Gospel Cafe, so went to get some lunch. Yeah. And yeah, the kiddos just got to grab ice cream and chill with pops.
All right, good stuff. Jeff, I'd like to say thank you so much for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule today. And what was your weekend like? I hope you got some relaxation in.
Yeah. So I'm actually back in my hometown right now, visiting my parents.
Nice.
I had a wedding I went to this weekend, so it was a pretty good weekend. It was productive, like Ryan said. And thank you, Dr. Bob, for having me. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Yes. So thanks for everyone who's watching live. If you have any comments in real time, please put them on the platform or the chat room of the platform that you're working on, and Jeff will respond to them. But today we're talking about a certain guy that people know about. The guy's name is LeBron James. And as I said, I'm a admirer of Jeff, and he did a great YouTube post a few weeks ago talking about LeBron James being a $1 billion athlete. And I had no idea. I knew he had lots of bank, but $1 billion, and also the fact that a lot of it has nothing to do with sports. So, Jeff, why don't you talk about the background behind that, LeBron James, etc., to our audience?
Yeah. So, as you said, LeBron James has amassed over $1 billion during his, time of being famous, essentially. So, during his professional career, he has reached he has surpassed over $1 billion, at least, and he's taking in over $1 billion. And what was so impressive about that is, like you alluded to, most of it, I'd say about 70% of it has nothing to do with basketball, right? So in his playing career, it's nothing to sniff at, but he's made like $300 million from the NBA, but $700 million comes from his endorsements and his investments. And that's what was so impressive, is that he's made great investments that has had a hell of a return, right? Like, so his return on investment is just insane. And also what's so important and impressive about what LeBron has done is that he's the first athlete that plays a team sport to reach that $1 billion status, right? So what I mean by that is individuals like Tiger Woods and Floyd Mayweather has also made over $1 billion during their, playing professional career. But LeBron is the first one that actually plays a team sport like the NFL and the NBA to reach that $1 billion status. And a lot of times when we see athletes get their like $1 billion, whether it's Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson, most of it comes after their career's over because they have a lot more free time because they're not playing basketball. Well, LeBron has been so impressive into doing it during his basketball career that that speaks for itself. And the fact that he's been able to make these smart investments and be able to do what he's able to do and still be the best player in the NBA and win championships. I mean, it just says, shout out to him and his business partner, Maverick Carter, for making things happen. And then, since I've done that video, they recently came out that LeBron and Maverick are part of the ownership group of the Boston Red Sox. So it's like it just continues to pile on and on. He's beyond impressive for sure.
Ryan, go ahead.
And I'm wearing red, but I'm not a Red Sox fan. So anybody that enjoys LeBron joining the Red Sox group, but all the power to him because, touching like that franchise is massive, both figuratively and metaphorically. But now, what learning do you take from how he's approached being able to amass what he's been able to put together outside of basketball? Like, what should we take as that key principle that he's been able to execute?
Well, most of us, or I'm gonna say like 99% of us, won't be able to make $300 million playing basketball, right? Like most of us aren't 6'8", can dunk on everybody, jump out of the world, right? But what we can do is invest. We can use our money and get into things like the stock market. Like I said, 70% of the money that we know LeBron James has made comes from off the court. Well, that is applicable to anybody. And that was the purpose of my video. It was saying, like, hey, even the best basketball player in the world doesn't get a bunch of money or most of his money. Only 30% of his money comes from actually playing basketball. So even if you make, $300 million or $30,000, like you can do the exact same thing. Those same principles can apply to your life. Your investments can be in line. You can be in on the stock market. You can be in on companies. Like you can own these things. Like in that, all it takes is studying and really just applying yourself. And the same thing can happen to you. And that was the purpose of my videos, to say, hey, you should be motivated by this, because even the smartest, one of the richest men in the country or in the world makes most of his money outside of his job, right? Like outside of his job is where he makes all his money. So I think the same thing can apply to anybody in any space.
Jeff, where did LeBron get that foundation to have that laser focus of wealth creation?
I think a lot of it comes from his humble background. Back in Akron, Ohio, I think the fact that, we know how good he is as a basketball player, but, at any moment, he spoke about like, this could have been taken away from me. So you need to be able to have multiple streams of income and multiple ways to provide for your family. I think also having a really, really smart business partner and a guy like Maverick Carter, who himself is, Maverick played basketball a little bit, but he's not a basketball player, and he's worth over $50 million, right? Like, so having a guy like that by your side that's able to help you, and most of the deals LeBron's in on, they're negotiated by Maverick, and Maverick's also in on it as well, whether it's his stuff with HBO, his movies, the Boston Red Sox deal. Like, Maverick's a part of all of those too. And I think having somebody by your side that's able to help you, guide you, because once again, LeBron is still an employee of the Lakers, right? So a lot of his time still is focused towards basketball. But Maverick's not a basketball player. He's the one cutting the deals and getting the checks and collecting the checks. So I think having someone by your side that knows business, is very business savvy, helps.
Right. But so is it that simple though? Because sure, LeBron makes $300 million. He's made that with NBA. Other NBA players also have amassed, I would say, millions of dollars, but you don't hear that same love story come out of it with their relationship with money. A lot of times you'll hear the millionaire to bust and millionaire to bankrupt.
Yeah.
So what wasn't put around them, and even the players right now, everybody should be looking at this example and saying, like, hey, how could we get into that? But why is it not being the norm for basketball players, and it's more the anomaly?
Or a lot of black athletes are in team sports just in general.
Well, I think part of it, I'm going to just be quite honest. I think a lot of times the athletes fall in love with like the examples of white people, right? Like they see white people and they get these white business managers and these white people, and they rob them in a lot of cases, right? But LeBron literally has a childhood friend. Him and Maverick are both from Akron. Maverick, I think, is a few years older than LeBron. And so when they came up together, and when LeBron was focusing on basketball, Maverick was focusing on business. And like I said, compound wealth. So yeah, you're getting 50, like say at one point LeBron had $50 million from the Cleveland Cavaliers or whoever, but Maverick flipped that 50 into 100 by getting endorsements with Coke and then Pepsi and, the Blaze Pizza and all of these. He was cutting these deals. And I think you have to have someone that you trust. But I will say to NBA players' credit, when LeBron James started creating things like media companies and doing a lot of stuff outside of basketball during his playing career, because that's never been the theme, right? Guys who do individual sports or even ladies, Serena Williams, the Tiger Woods, the Floyd Mayweathers, they're always been more well, not necessarily Floyd, but the Tiger Woods and Serena Williams, people that play individual sports have always been more marketable because it's one-on-one. It's them versus the world, right? And so that's why Tiger Woods get a whole bunch of money. Serena Williams has garnered a bunch of money in endorsements. But LeBron James was one of the first real team sport athletes, because he was so dominant, to get a ton of money and outside endorsements. And so what he's done has actually opened doors for other folks. You see Kevin Durant with the boardroom. He's got his media company. You see Steph Curry that's in on media and doing his thing. And then also those guys are in on social media. Kevin Durant is, I think, and Carmelo Anthony are going to be a part of the Overtime Basketball League that's going to hire kids right out of high school instead of going to college. And they're going to pay them up to $100,000, I want to say. So like you see what LeBron has started, and it's starting to spread, and a lot of folks are getting in outside investments. Because if you read that article like I did, whether you make $50 a week or $50 an hour or whatever, like you can really accumulate wealth if you invest it properly.
Ryan?
Absolutely. And I was curious around, so we're not LeBron. And like you said, even if you're making 30K, I find a lot of the entrepreneurs that I talk to in our business community are in survival mode. They're working, all the money they make is to pay the bills at the end of the month. And a lot of times, like I wasn't able to get into investing until I realized that my expenses were taken care of, to say, okay, I'm good on the home front. Now I can look elsewhere. What type of approach do you give the person that's only making 30, 50, even up to 100,000, but might still be in survival mode?
I say diversify your investments. So that's really key, right? So even when you're working on your business or you're in a job and you don't want to be there, I think to continue to study, it takes long nights, right? Like at my job, I don't make a ton of money, right? But I make money in the market. And so owning pieces of other companies, learning how to swing trade, learning how to option trade, things like that really is key, because that allows you to have multiple streams of income. That allows you, so when you are only making, 30K a year or whatever, you're still able to develop wealth over in this other span. Like that's how the rich people stay rich. It's the stock market, it's real estate. It's these type of things that allow the folks who have the money to keep their money or to make even more money. And the beauty behind being in something like the stock market or being in something like real estate, if you know what you're doing, you can make money. And two, there's no way really for someone to be racist to you in those kind of fields, right? Especially in like the stock market. If you're trading on Ameritrade or Robinhood or Webull, whatever your favorite trading portfolio is, like the person on the other side of the screen selling you those stocks or selling you those options or buying your options or stocks, they don't know what color you are. So it's all competitive. It's all, everybody's on the same playing field. And that is a way to really build wealth. And that's why, the people who have money are able to pass money down to their families, because they've been doing this for centuries, right? My family never was into trading or stock market and stuff. So I'm like a first generation type person that's doing that. But I know once I die or I'm able to have, when I have children, because I don't have children yet, that I'm able to pass this knowledge down and they'll be able to have a head start than way before I did.
So Jeff, I want to talk about LeBron, and we always have the comparison of LeBron versus Michael. So I'm looking, and I've heard what your thoughts are on that, by the way, but I'm looking LeBron versus Michael as a global and cultural impact. Do you think at the end of his playing days, and who knows what that's going to be for LeBron, because he's still at some of the top of his game.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a possibility when the history books look back, not just on the court, but on the court and off the court, could LeBron have a bigger impact than Michael?
I think so, because we have to remember the people that talk to us on television, talk about sports on television, they're normally in the 30, late 30s, early 40s, 50, and so on, right? So that generation either grew up with Michael Jordan or grew up admiring Michael Jordan. A lot of the players grew up playing against Michael Jordan. So that is the guy they couldn't beat, right? When Mike played, nobody could beat him. It's like there's no denying that. So obviously there's a certain level of respect, admiration, hell, even fear when they played against him. Like all of that was encapsulated during the 90s. If you play basketball in the 90s against Michael Jordan, you lost. It's just that simple. So, but those guys at some point are going to move on, right? They're going to be off television. They're going to be doing their own things. They're going to be in their retirement homes, whatever. And the new wave of media, the people like me are going to end up being on TV. The people like me are going to be on the internet. They're going to talk about LeBron James, because at some point it's going to be hard to deny being first in points, top 10 in rebounds, top 10 in assists, 4 championships and counting, and 10 finals appearances. And then when you look at, oh, he is a part owner in the Boston Red Sox. Oh, he might end up owning the Cleveland Cavaliers or some NBA team, because he's going to own an NBA team. And he's going to do it way faster than Michael Jordan. He's made it very well known during his playing career. He made the statement just last week, like, yeah, like owning the Red Sox is cool, but I want to own, something else. Now, LeBron's sneaker will never be as popular as Mike's, right? Like that'll never happen. But everything else will be on par or the same as Michael Jordan. And like I said, it's going to be really hard in 20 years to tell a kid that's like 5 years old, 20 years from now, that like there was a player better than LeBron James in basketball, because they're going to look at the highlights, they're going to look at the numbers, and I'm like, you mean to tell me you guys think there's a guy better than him? like better than this guy? Like it's going to be really hard. It's almost going to be laughable. When I made the statement, it's almost going to be laughable. You're going to have a guy, because LeBron's going to end up probably finishing number 1 in points all time. He's going to be a top 10 guy in an assist all time. He's going to be a top 10 guy in rebounds all time. He's already got 10 finals appearances and counting. He's got 4 MVPs. It would have been 5. He just got hurt, so he probably won't win this year. But he's going to have like all these crazy numbers and the championships to back it up. And like I said, in those older guys that played with Mike and that was in Mike's era, they won't be as relevant anymore. And the new wave media is going to be like, yeah, no, I don't know if there was a guy better than MJ.
And he's going to have Space Jam.
Especially if he wins another championship. It's
yeah.
Really, really hard to deny that.
And he's going to duplicate Space Jam, so they won't even have that over him.
Yeah, and where he's going to make multiple movies too. Like LeBron's got the Spring Hill Entertainment, so Space Jam, The Shop, like you're going to see multiple media projects. He's doing all this while he's playing, and so when he retires, whenever that may be, but in the next 10 years when he retires, he's only going to crank out more and more like media style projects. So he's going to be way more relevant. One thing about Michael Jordan, he's been very like quiet since he's retired, right? Like he was a killer on the court, but when he retired, like his sneaker empire stayed the same, or maybe it really grew, but he wasn't a visible public figure. He was reclusive. He stayed to himself. LeBron James is the opposite. He's clearly an extrovert. He likes to be around people. He likes to make movies. He likes to be on TV shows. So he's a face that people like, kind of like Magic Johnson, a face people are going to really get used to knowing and seeing. And he's going to be even bigger once his career is over than probably he ever was during his playing career.
What is LeBron's example? And I think you talked about during your YouTube video. What messages did he send to Black men?
There's no limit to what you can do, right? Once again, none of us are ever, most of us, 99% of us are not going to play in the NBA. 99% of us are not going to, score 30,000 points in the NBA or do all this amazing stuff, right? Get 300 million. But all of us can do whatever you want. Like, I think a lot of times in our community, we have like this victim mentality. Right? Like a lot of bad stuff has happened to Black people, especially in America, right? A lot of bad stuff. I'm not dismissing any of that. There is racism. There is a white supremacist system that still exists, but we can't always be the woe is me, right? We can't always just expect a handout. We can't always just blame racism and white supremacy for every single bad thing. A lot of times we just have to go out and get it. We just have to go out and do it. I was watching a guy by the name of King Randall. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but King Randall is a 21-year-old that has created, he was sick of the school system. He's from Georgia. He was sick of the school system and what they were teaching young boys. They weren't creating Black men. They had little young Black boys and keeping them boys. And so what did he do? He bought a school at 20. Wow. At 19, he started a program when he was 19. And then developed that program so well, he was getting so many donations and things like that, that he bought a school so that way he can fix the Black men in his community. And so instead of like just continuing to cry about it and be pissed that nobody was helping us or nobody was helping the men in his community of Albany, Georgia, he bought a school and he's changing it from the ground up. He's changing his community from the ground up. And that was like so inspirational to me. Like this guy's younger than me. And that was inspirational because like you said, you have to do for self. A lot of times, I get it. There are going to be people that don't want you to be great, that don't want you to do what you need to do. But anything is possible. Absolutely anything is possible. And a guy like King Randall is an example. And even a guy like this has as much success as LeBron James an example. Like I said, you'll never be able to dunk a basketball or go out and drop 30 whenever you want to. But you'll be able to invest. There's no racism in the stock market. I can tell you that because nobody knows what color you are when you're buying and selling options, buying and selling stock in real estate. There's no racism when that. Those are things that even the playing field. And Dr. Claude Anderson preaches powernomics because when you have money and financial gain, you have power. And when you have power, you can change things around you and help your community. And so those are the biggest takeaways from someone like LeBron James. And I had to shout out a guy like King Randall.
And I was curious around that legacy piece because now you compared Michael Jordan and LeBron James, where Jordan didn't really leave a legacy of investing. You didn't know like what he was doing. He was out of the spotlight. Eventually, you did see he became part owner of the Bobcats, but I'm still, like you said, LeBron is more visual with the types of investments that he's doing and showing that example. And you were naming like different other NBA players that are almost following suit. So around that legacy piece, how do we as community leaders bring that and say, listen, we can use this example to now become investors in X? Like, I'm curious how to just approach the conversation because yes, it's one thing, we're talking about it, people will see it, some will do it, some might not, but to be more purposeful in really saying, hey, this is something tangible that we can go after as a community. Let's get it. Like, what would be your thoughts on that?
I think the folks that get it and that want to get it will, right? Like, you can only help those who want to be helped. So the biggest thing is to continue to spread the message and let them know that opportunity is there. Because I will say for a long time, finances and investing and things like that, I don't know about you guys from where you grew up and stuff, but that wasn't something that was talked about in my household.
Yeah,
exactly. Like that wasn't something. I don't know if it's just taboo. I don't know, what the reason was. And it's so amazing. I tell people this and they don't believe me. My mom's an accountant. Right, like, so she's an accountant by trade, and finances was still nothing that we spoke about until like I came of age and knew about it myself. And so, like, a lot of the things that you learn in school are good, they're cool, but they're not like real life things, right? Like Pythagorean theorem. I can't even tell you what that is right now, but I know that was something I learned in high school, but I can't tell you what it does for me now, right? Like I don't.
Yes,
I
exactly.
I was in 11th grade or something, right? Like I went into journalism, so never had to use the Pythagorean theorem. So, but those are things. These are conversations that Black families need to have and need to have more often. That way, you're setting yourself up for the future. Get out of some of these taboo things, get out of some of these things that we're so used to doing, these passed down, they're passed down crutches. They're passed down like things that aren't helpful. The way we eat, the way we don't, the way we say, soul food and things like that, that's really killing you on the inside. The finances and not talking about that kind of stuff. These are things that need to, these slave formed habits, they need to be broken. These chains need to be released. Like, it's okay to talk to your children about money and finances. It's okay to want to be rich. It's okay to want to have a better life. Like sometimes you're like, oh, money isn't everything. No, it's not everything, but it can help you out a lot when you have some of it, when you're not struggling, right? Like, or, use all this processed food and processed meat and all this sugar. It's like, no, let's try to cut some of that out. Let's try to be a little more healthy. That way we don't need to be so first in line to get the vaccines and stuff. No this to anybody's taking vaccines, but like you help yourself a lot, not just by getting vaccines, but just by being healthy in the first place.
Right.
When it comes to things like COVID. So I think these are some of the things we need to do more as a community and talk about more as a community and really, divest and push this message to our community. That way we don't have to, we don't have to backtrack. It's like we're reactionary to a lot of things. Instead of being reactionary, just being prepared in the first place. And that way you don't have to react to whatever's taking place.
Yeah. And I was really curious, if you remember, what were those first conversations you did have with your mother when you started being more, I guess, aware of finances and knowing that you had to be on top of it?
It was more like, my bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I should have taught you about this. Like, we should have been having these conversations when you're 10, 11, 12 years old. And that way, like, we would be in, like, not to say we're in a bad position now. Trust me, we're fine. But it was like, dang, I messed up. Like, it was like, I messed up. They're not talking to you about. Like, my mom isn't really she's really good at budgeting, right? Like, she's really good at budgeting. She has really low to no debt. She went to college on scholarship and all this stuff. So that was like her pride and joy. And like, if something was to ever happen to her, I know, like me, I have siblings, we'd all be taken care of. So that was like her goal. But we never really openly talked about it until I was like, in my 20s, till I started investing, till I started making moves myself. And then it was like, dang, we should have been doing this when we were young. I have an example. There's a lady that we work with over on the Black Boss channel and through our media company and stuff. Her name is Constance Carter. And she bought her son a stock market investing class when he was 10 years old. I think she gave the opportunity. She has like 3 children. And she gave them all the opportunity. She said, there's a stock market investing class that Dr. Boyce puts on. He said, if you guys want to, take the course, I'll buy it and I'll give you your first few dollars to invest, and we can see what you do from there. And so only one of her children did it, apparently. And he was 10 years old. He took the stock market investing class. He started investing. He was 10 years old. He is 6, and I think she gave him $5,000 at the start or at some point to like invest, to, do what he has to do. He took that $5,000 from the time he was 10. He's 16 now. He has over $40,000 at 16 years old. $40,000 invested at 16 years old. You get what I'm saying? Like, see how life
different track.
Hey, so by the time he's like able to go to college, probably in 2 years, he'll probably somewhere close to like $60,000 or $70,000, right? And he'll be 18 years old. You can, when you have that kind of capital and that kind of equity, you can your life trajectory is totally different. Now he would have been fine no matter what. His mom was a lawyer and she was very successful, but like now you have way more options. If you want to go to college, you can go to college. If you want to be a full-time investor, you can do that. If you want to do a trade or whatever, like you're not put in a box of just go to school, go to school, graduate, get a good job. Like now you have options, you have different lanes you can go in, and that's amazing. And that can happen to literally anyone.
All right. Well, we gotta start closing it up here. But Jeff, again, would like to thank you for taking the time today. And what do you see? Well, who knows when LeBron's going to retire? I hope probably in the next 5 years. But what do you see as LeBron James's legacies? Even if his career stopped right now, which it hasn't, though he's out with an ankle injury. What is his legacy as we speak right now?
I think LeBron James's legacy is, to me, he was the greatest NBA player to ever play. That's first and foremost. I want to put that out there. But also, he gave hope to a lot of people outside of basketball that you can literally accomplish any dream that you want to. Once again, most people aren't going to grow to be, 99% of us aren't going to grow to be 6'8", 250 and jump 50 inches in the air and dunk and shoot and all that stuff. But all of us can invest. All of us can be smart with our money. All of us can literally do anything that we want to accomplish. This man has opened a school. This man has a shoe line. He has helped with voter suppression down in different parts of the country. Like he's literally has his hand, started media companies, do movies, TV shows. He literally has his hand in everything, all while still remaining the best player in the world. And so I think if LeBron James can still find time to do all of these things outside of his job, like you can do the same and continue to build wealth for your family and continue to do whatever it is that you want to do.
Fantastic stuff, Jeff. Again, huge thanks. And if you're hopefully you can have time to have you come back again. Stay safe. And people want to contact Jeff on Twitter. It's JLightsy7 on Twitter and Instagram. And also check him out on the Black Boss channel on YouTube. And also periodically Dr. Boyce lets him come on with him on his channel. And so, Jeff, again, thanks very much. Have a fantastic day. And remember to give yourself grace.
Thank you. Absolutely. You guys have a good day.
Thank you. Ryan, great conversation today. Jeff hit it out of the park big time. Really happy to have him on. What did you get out of today's conversation?
Some marching orders. Like there's no excuse not to start thinking about diversifying the money that we're bringing in. Like it's not just your paycheck. You can use that to now multiply what you're doing. I'm definitely going to be looking at the Boss channel. I got it written down to make sure to check out his YouTube so that I can get some tips. But yeah, really that expanded my horizons. I love that.
Nice. I loved a lot of the things that he said about diversification, and if LeBron can find the time,
well,
we can find the time.
Having somebody by your side too.
Yes.
You need teammates in the money game. So I'm definitely going to look at that too.
Big time. Well, look, folks, our time is done for today. Monday morning, we're speaking that you have a really great rest of the week. What's one thing you're working on this week, Ryan?
Gonna be house hunting again, so that's exciting. And also, just meetings.
All right. I myself, I have some documents I have to get out there. I have to do an infographic for some services that I'm offering, and also continuing to provide support for men and people all around the world. So we'd like to thank everyone who joined us on the Morning Vibe. The support is strong out of the box. And I want to say a big shout out to Jay Cookingham. Haven't seen him for a bit. And David Hughes, all the way from Australia.
What time is it there? Is it nighttime?
It's got to be at least 12 hours ahead. But hey, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. If you want to touch base with us, just take the look at the credits at the end. But you can also email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. And as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace, and God bless. Peace be well, and keep the faith. Take care, everybody.
Peace.